I just don't want him to
On screen
completely
right
tear
now,
into it.
What you're looking at right now, showing up through the weirdest means, the weirdest way, was easily one of the coolest things I have experienced in a fighting game in a long time. I'm not going to say an MK game. I'm just going to say in general. Floyd being the final mystery ninja, the rainbow ninja, even though it was found relatively quick, this stuff was not designed to be monetizable. It was just sick.
Does he have 1337 health? How did I not realize Floyd had Leet as his health? Okay, I beat him multiple times and I never even looked at that.
It felt like the old days of Mortal Kombat. When you look in, error macro and all this kind of shit. He shows up and you're like, what is happening? Secrets and Mortal Kombat are a thing that have sort of been put by the wayside for a little while, kind of relegated to gear and unlocks and shit like that. And then Mortal Kombat 1 finally came out.
Were there any secrets in MK11 that I'm forgetting? Because he didn't even mention character, which I would call Cyber Sub-Zero for Triborg being the last big secret I can remember. I guess Meteor Towers in MK11?
Out and they're like, why haven't we done big secrets again? And they did it. And it was in an update. They didn't tell anybody about it. They told nobody.
Reptile in the Crypt.
Cool fight. At the end of MK1,
yeah, I guess that would be a secret.
Super fun. And I think they took what was an extremely bad situation, almost like a very much like rough fighting game with a lot of problems. It has some of the best aspects of MK that I have played. Is it my preferable way to play them? Is it the best? Is everything else emphatically good about it? No, dude. We know all the issues with MK1. We just talked about it. I want to talk about the things that ended up being really sick about this game. Because if one thing, yes, the comparison here is like Street Fighter V. They didn't even get the time to Street Fighter V Mortal Kombat 1 to get to their eventual Season 4, Season 5, where things were actually really good and this became a genuinely good game. Dude, they didn't even get that time at all.
Would you guys have wanted them to keep giving time like that though? So my take, I've been saying this, there are the people that will both say, like the same person will say, I hate MK1 and then also trash the game for having its, support discontinued in terms of DLC and stuff. I feel like a lot of players wanted the game to be over and have NetherRealm start doing something else because they don't like the game. The game slowly but surely was getting better and better. Like, we are right here. The game kind of cooks to play online, but do people want the game to keep getting more support when you know in the back of your mind that means the next MK, or if it's Injustice, is coming out even later? I don't know. It's a tough one for me.
They got a very short, like, year and a half-ish period to begin their redemption arc, and the beginning of their redemption arc is now where the game is seemingly and potentially done, which is sad. Outside of Floyd, which is a badass thing that they added to this game, and I love this shit, man. This was such a cool idea of, like, secret fights. I want to talk about the stuff that Mortal Kombat 1 did well, and I want to talk about the things in this game that I actually hope continue forward, that future games that NRS makes can apply and learn from. Outside of the clear negative aspects that have been covered ad nauseum and a billion times, and I don't need to farm content out of that anymore. I don't know if I really want to. The first one is cameos, and I don't think cameos are a thing that needs to come back. I don't think that's something that
is a really good but hot take. I think the final version of cameos are good, but I'm going to say that I don't think cameos are good for the casual experience. I don't think the casual gamer wants cameos in Mortal Kombat.
Should resurface or return. But around Season 2, cameos greatly changed. A lot of aspects of the game that were revolving around, like, F it, this just covers my neutral sort of situations, just makes unsafe things safe. That stuff didn't go away. However, how did the majority of relatively good or decent cameos change over time? We started to see an evolution of something that is what I think pretty unique to NRS games, which is a conversion. And the ability for you to convert using a cameo, a normal...
Oh, even Max gets hit by the Kenshi blender.
One-hit situation into something that is a multiple-hit situation, and that can actually get you pretty decent damage. They first told us this pre-release, hey, down twos? You don't get anything off down twos in almost any NRS game, bro. Well, they literally turned it into a jump cancel later on, which is kind of cool. And they promote the idea that, hey, your cameo can turn a down two into an actual conversion in some way. That's an interesting idea. They don't fully get to the point where that makes sense until we get really crazy cameos like Movado and stuff like that, where you could only use the cameo during hit stun and juggle. That shit was weird, man. I'm like, what are these guys smoking? Giving him credit is one of the coolest cameos in the game. What a cool idea. Suddenly now I have a cameo that just doesn't randomly help me out in neutral. Now it lets me convert. Now it lets me turn a throw into something unique. It allows me to turn situations that Mortal Kombat has historically presented to us. Hey bro, you're just gonna watch this 5 to 7 second throw animation again and again and again. I will never forgive Mortal Kombat 11. That game made me hate throws, dude. I hate throws. I can't stand them. NRS game.
Okay, I super agree. First off, the Movado take is really funny because I always say this, Movado being one of the best cameos is super good for the casual experience. The beauty of it is all these new conversions, and it's so much better than something like Serena giving casuals combos. It's a lot more interactive. You can't use it BS on block and things like that. But the second thing is, I talk about all the time, he's talking about throws in MK11. I much prefer throw combos over Scorpion. You tech the wrong way on the grab previously. Scorpion now can walk up to you. It is another 50-50 guess, and no matter which way he throws you, if it lands, he does 30% damage. I would rather take the throw combo kind of style because at least now it's risk reward. Do I throw backwards and try and get my throw combo, or do I throw forwards and take less damage, but the opponent is more likely to tech backwards to stop the combo?
Games, I cannot watch these throw animations again and again and again. Like, oh my god, dude, this is crazy. At least in MK1, they found a way to make that work. You can quite literally break the throw with the cameo and convert after. Cool. That's a cool idea. Another thing I hope comes back, and I think historically has been a thing that in almost all of the Mortal Kombats before this, a thing that is kind of hard to deal with for a mid-level to low-level audience, maybe mid to intermediate, jump kicks. Jump kicks are kind of a pain in the ass in the majority of MK games, and many of them you don't get conversions off of them. Not all the time, sometimes you do, but jump kicking is like kind of a pain in the neck. You're like, what do? I don't have a traditional anti-air. Like sometimes my down twos don't work in this situation. Mortal Kombat 1 was like, hey, we recognize that. Like our jump kicks are kind of messed up and you get one hit, but you don't get the combo. They're sort of hard to anti-air in many situations. And one thing they did initially was really buff down twos. Down twos are now very good anti-airs. They're like really good, but they introduce up block, and up block opens up a pretty unique mind game.
So I agree with what he's generally saying, right? It is nice to have up block, but also I find that they also compensated for up block. Certain characters' jump kicks are just impossible to normal anti-air, which I think is actually a problem point for me in this game. In MK11, any character's jump kick, I can throw out a Scorpion stand 1 anti-air, and it works. Stand 1 into stand 4 throw spear combo. In this game, that works against like half the cast. You can do that stand 1 and get the anti-air, but if it's Johnny Cage, if it's Scorpion even, their jump kicks are so good that the stand 1 anti-air just gets completely eaten by jump kicks. So you are forced to use this new mechanic, which I don't enjoy. I think anti-airs are one of the most fun things about MK games, and I don't want to be forced into up blocking or taking a cameo to down to it. So while I agree it's nice like to add a new mechanic, NetherRealm did kind of screw up in my eyes to make jump kicks even better on certain characters, like Johnny. He haunts my nightmares. You can't stand 1 anti-air that guy, so.
Of like an empty jump. Now, if you up block, there's a recovery to it. Now, if you up block, you can be thrown out of it. Now, if you up block and correctly predict that somebody is jumping at me, I can now punish you for it. And if I'm ready for it, I think that is arguably, and it is a defensive mechanic, one of the best ideas they have had in NRS games in a hell of a long time. I think this shit is a great idea. In fact, we all go back to previous Mortal Kombat, 3D Mortal Kombats and stuff, and we're always up blocking on accident because it's just natural. It's just like a natural thing. Yes, the fact that you can up block overheads, the main function.
Who's we? I'm still gonna anti-air. I ain't using up block. Hell no. Who's we?
functionality was around jump-ins, right? It clearly was solving a problem. I actually really hope that whatever next MK game happens, that they have a mechanic that is similar to or functionally like up block. I think that would be a great idea. Introduced at the end of season 2, the very tail end, which is why I'm thinking this is going to be something that will be introduced in the future Mortal Kombat game. We have finally been given some true concepts of something that is more mechanically deep than just having a fatal blow. Just having a big super X-ray animation, you know, that plays out and you get these fatal blows and yada, yada, yada. Some characters had some cool functionality with this shit. The Joker kind of had that in Injustice 2. Johnny sort of has that in MK1, you know, some characters in MK11, but not like a functional thing. They give characters, I think it was Melina, where they let you go combo mad at the sacrifice of your fatal blow. They give the characters these unique opportunities to go crazy at the expense of fatal blow, so that we no longer have to just watch that animation over and over again. Instead, you now get to style on somebody if it's like the final hit or some crazy shit if it's not going to break. I think that is a great idea. And it is a wonderful kind of like poetic sort of way to fix the issue that you watch the same shit over and over again. Ever since MK11, we see the same goddamn supers because you're almost guaranteed to use them every single round. The same thing in MK1. Once you get to that lower health bar, you just have that shit. Nah, man, that thing is a great call of how to turn what is just a very uninteractable situation into something that allows us to grow. It actually enhances the gameplay in some way instead of just watching a cinematic. We were hoping it was going to be every character, but it ended up really just being Melina and Baraka, which makes me feel like it's a test. It makes me feel like they're sort of testing.
Okay, two things. First, maybe other people have caught this too. Does he say season 2? He doesn't say season 2 is in season 2 of Kombat League. He says season 2 like Chaos Reigns. I believe so. Now I'm picking that up. I was really confused there. A couple times he said season 2, like the cameos got better. And I was like, season 2 cameos got better. I was really trying to give some benefit of the doubt to like the Striker meta being in season 2. But no, okay. He's talking like Chaos Reigns onwards season 2. The next thing is I do think they did the fatal blows better. I like the fact that we have Baraka's one and Melina's one where you don't actually use it. You use the activation to do either cool combos or you can cancel special moves into special moves. My thing is I think we needed more of that, but I also don't think fatal blows were really a problem in this game. Again, in MK11 I was so tired of them because they were instant startup. So you saw them all the time because they were a really good tool. Now you see them, yeah, it's really just a glorified combo extender. That's all they're used for at this point. Which means, though, I don't necessarily always see them. Most people, if they can finish you in another way, don't just use it. And I'm also not seeing that startup animation all the time. I don't know. I haven't gotten fully tired of it yet. I think we could have used more of these, but I'm also not annoyed that there aren't a bunch of, you know, Melina or Baraka style fatal blows. Name one thing you can do outside of Kombat League and casuals. Okay. To me, there's not that much more in MK11 than MK1 if you think about it. Yes, there's the Crypt and AI Towers, which, let's be real, AI Towers was a chance to try and capitalize on the mobile market. It was a bad game mode. They didn't even put a ranked like ladder on it. There's Towers of Time in MK1. That was the thing in MK11, Towers of Time. We have Invasions, which objectively has more single player kind of content than MK11 had. The big thing is the Crypt. Invasions shouldn't have existed the way it does. You could have put a lot of that into Towers of Time, and it should have just been something brand new, not the design they went for. And that's the big problem. I do miss the Crypt, and I miss rooms. I think there are things missing, but it's not like in this final version there is nothing to do single player wise. It's just you personally probably don't like Invasions that much. Like, be honest, do you love that game mode? Maybe not. If you don't, that's fine, but there is a lot in Invasions, even if it's not for you.
Testing this thing to see how people do it and what you can do to turn it into something super cool. Another thing that I really like about MK1, we're back to traditional Mortal Kombat breakers. The typical wake-up system and breaker system, how you use your meter that MKX and MK9 had provided. Those systems have been intrinsically Mortal Kombat now, where it's like, I'm going to wake up with a special move, it's going to have armor, and it's going to beat your thing. I'm using that wake up for that. No more super goofy wake up thing in Mortal Kombat 11. No, bro. I genuinely like the concept that MK11 does give you breakers, and we have a traditional breaker, and we have the ability that your character can do wake up EX moves that are like unsafe if you use the EX move. I like the way that Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X figured that out, and then for some reason they changed it in MK11 because these games always change. But I hope that's a foundation going into the next Mortal Kombat. Just gameplay wise, I hope that is a thing that continues forward, and those games sort of, you can use your meter to trade off in that way. Those are equal, decent, high risk, high reward situations that I think should continue and are a decent foundation that doesn't need to be really screwed up with, you know? If they do eventually introduce something that allows you to stop the breaker to do like, you know, a block the burst in some way, that would be really fascinating. But I don't think the devs want that. I think the devs, if you're going to spend a lot of meter on this, you should allow your ass to return to neutral. You know what I mean? That was emphatically way better than Mortal Kombat 11, at least in my opinion. Let's talk about combos.
Is there anybody in here that likes Breakaway more than Breaker? It's okay, be honest. Like, this is a place you can let me know. You would be in the minority, but that is fine. If you enjoy that mechanic, okay, there's nobody. Because I always wondered if the people that said they like Breakaway more than Combo Breaker, they must have played a character in MK11 that had a really good armor break. Because I think if you have a really good guaranteed armor break, you might enjoy it just because you get the combo scaling reset. You know, you can get these really high damage combos. The issue was most characters' armor breaker was not guaranteed against Breakaway. Do I think T1000 is the most broken character in NRS history? No, probably not. It would either be Cabal in MK9 or potentially Acidic Alien in MKX. I'm not entirely sure which one.
Much as I really enjoyed combos in MK1, there was a problem. And it's the same problem that Tekken 8 is running into. The fact that the combos take so long to complete was an issue. A complaint and also a benefit. Very fun combos in this game. Air combos, bounce combos, like all that kind of stuff. Yes, I actually legit enjoyed all the cool setups and combo things that you could do in this game. The problem is that they just simply take way too long. They put us in these moments where we're just gonna have to watch this shit forever. It is a big issue. It's also one of the most fun aspects of the game. If there's one thing that is a criticism but also a benefit, it's combos, and I think the game speed needs to change. I think people will be fine with the game running at a speed.
This must be a very early season gameplay, by the way.
I think that is completely fine. If anything, I think the combos are a benefit. They're very fun in this game. They're really cool. There's a lot of very difficult extensions and shit like that. I want a game that allows us to use resources to extend combos in a variety of ways, and it's quick and snappy, dude. Quick, snappy, get your reward, move.
Okay, I just, maybe I could see this take if he's referring to like Serena combos. I agree. Serena is a cameo that single-handedly did terrible things alongside Cyrax to MK1's reputation, because at the casual level, she's basically safe on block, and when she does combo, you have to sit through those glaives, what is it, 8 times they hit you, because everybody uses them twice in the same combo. So I do agree with that, but I think nowadays most combos are pretty quick, and any of the combos that take a while are really cool to watch. Like, I'm thinking of the longest combo I can think of in the game, and it's probably Ermac Janet, but at least when I'm watching it, I know in my head it's one of the hardest execution things to do in the entire game. So I'm cool with it going on that long. But I agree, if he's referring to like Serena glaives just taking way too long, I 100% agree. MK1 is the best combos out of any game ever. I think MKX might have to top it for me, but this would be second. I will say this game has the most combo creativity of any MK game.
Move on, you know, and then we just get to go. I hope that's the future for Mortal Kombat games beyond this, that they can learn that things need to be a little bit more snappy and sped up, because if anything, Mortal Kombat 1 had an issue. It was a bit too sluggish overall. I just want to say this is a benefit and also a problem. This is a really good thing and also a technically really bad thing. My dude, I did not like any of the characters in this game. Any of them in season, and technically all the way up until season like 1. Some of them were fun, but the core roster, this is one of the first Mortal Kombat games where I didn't like any of the MK ninjas. I felt weird. I really didn't like Scorpion. I thought
Justice for us Scorpion mates. I was gonna stop for something else, but he goes with Scorpion. Yeah, I mean, Launch Scorpion was potentially one of the worst characters NetherRealm has ever released. There was no point to playing him. And then the best character, Johnny Cage, well, one of the best, basically was his own worst matchup. So it felt horrible to play the character because you ran into so many Johnny Cages. I'll piggyback off that to say that I still think the game has a problem in terms of cameos, that there are almost no base roster cameos that I enjoy using. There are very few. Most of the most fun cameos, or the cameos I enjoy to play the most, are locked away behind DLC. Now for me, that doesn't matter. There are definitely people that have the game without the DLC characters, and you're kind of forced into buying the cameos if you want to have a great time, because all the fun ones behind a paywall.
Zero was not nearly cool enough.
Sub-Zero not cool enough? Fair.
I thought Reptile was neat looking, but I just did not like the way he felt. He felt heavy. This was like, Reptile's supposed to be nimble, bro, and he just feels like, ugh, my tail weighs 800 fucking pounds, ugh, you know, and I'm gonna spit snot everywhere. It's like, I just did not.
I agree with that take. The best way I'll compare it to, Reptile, at least at first to me, felt the way Noob Saibot felt in MK11. Feels very clunky and slow. This was when the game released, by the way. He just had that weighted feeling that Noob had in MK11.
I like the way some of these characters like felt, dude. I didn't like it. So much so that, yeah, I was even playing Havoc. And I just ending up on Havoc. I don't know how that happened. This changes
he ended
a
up
lot
on one of the worst
in
characters
Season 1
back
DLC.
then.
Once we get into Season 2, it gets a lot better. And we get some characters that actually require genuine technical know-how, that actually require some finger gymnastics and stuff, so much to the point where it's like, dude, I can't even play this character. Ermac is a really cool idea. I genuinely don't want to play him, but I think the way they handled him was sick. Making Ermac into the stance cancel, I think there's one version of Ermac that was all about weird stance cancel combos in MKX, and they kind of leaned on that a lot. I'm like, that's a really cool idea. I like that, dude. And then just for finality, I think Noob Saibot in this game is one of the sickest Mortal Kombat ninjas ever. Straight up. I don't even mean that I like his design or the way he looks, because I only think that's okay. Noob Saibot was always one of the characters that I loved and a lot of casual people love about Mortal Kombat just in general, because he's cool looking. And I despise the way he played in MK11. I could not believe how tremendously boring this dude was in MK11, but he looked so cool.
Oh, he
Noob
agrees
Saibot
about that
doesn't
noob
look
take.
as cool in this game. But this guy doing his, like, throw the shadow dude, flips him to the other side, shoot up, the teleport fireball lands in here, does all this crazy shit, zips the guy. Dude, awesome. Wow. This character is the best MK Ninja I think I have ever seen. Like, straight up. I think the way Noob Saibot plays in this game should be referenced for, like, all future NRS ninja characters. He is just so sick. I think they might have made, in my opinion, visually, when the character's doing shit, the sickest MK Ninja I've ever seen. I think the character I ended up liking the most in this game, not just for memes, but in terms of gameplay, was Conan. And why did I like Conan so much?
We'll get to the Conan one, but I agree with the Noob take. I will say, Noob is one of the coolest ninjas and has some of the coolest combos we've ever seen in an MK game. He's just not the easiest character for a new player to play, which is fine. I think that's totally fine. It is interesting, though. A lot of the coolest looking ones are hard to play. Ermac, I would say, is medium to high difficulty. Noob is medium difficulty. Also, a little bit, you know, that's kind of an issue with this point here. Noob has some of the longest combos in the game. I can link you ones that go on for over 30 seconds easily, and it doesn't require Fatal Blow for that. But I agree with this point overall. It gives me a laugh because Noob does have some long combos, especially if you have Shujinko against certain matchups like Ghostface.
Normals, dude. Fatty ass normals. They gave this guy Mortal Kombat X range. When some characters can feel kind of stumpy at times in MK11, they gave this dude huge range. at the cost of like really good mix. He's a strike throw character because everybody's a strike throw character, but he really had the ability to throw out some big ass normals, spinning this shit all off. He was cool, dude. To me, it was kind of like, yeah, like the better version of Kotal Khan had the sword and all of that kind of shit. It was kind of like a better representation of what a big, heavy sworded character could do. I loved him, man. And then he had some really cool conversion shit. I thought it was awesome. And then you got Ghostface, who's just insane. Like, what?
I will say, everybody knows Ghostface is insane, but he was also the fan favorite before any of the DLC 2 came out, Chaos Reigns. I will say a lot of people would agree with Max's point here that Conan was the most surprise enjoyable DLC probably of all time. Conan is really fun, but most people thought he was potentially the most boring DLC character ever before he released. Like, nobody wanted to play this man. In fact, I looked at Chaos Reigns before any of the DLC came out, and I was like, wow, that is not a very good pack other than Noob and Ghostface, and then Sector I also wanted to play. So those three, I was like, but turns out, no. KP2 as a whole is one of the best combat packs I think we've ever gotten. Every character in that combat pack was either very good, they didn't release any underpowered characters, like a Quan Chi being just trash on release, Takeda being trash on release, while also, even if they weren't the best like Conan, they were super fun. They gave Conan a flash parry, they gave Conan a regular combo parry, they gave Conan a revive mechanic like MKX Jason, they gave him command grabs, they gave him pretty much everything. It's like NetherRealm finally figured out how to design fun characters in this MK1 system with cameos. So I did enjoy that.
What the hell? Ghostface is such a crazy, such a cool idea. Dude, grabbing your ankles, bringing in your friend. Bro, why are we fighting gods and shit? I think Ghostface and his execution was wonderful. This could have been such a boring, lame-ass character, and he's so cool. And then to finish it off, we got the T-1000, which is just amazing. And now we end Mortal Kombat 1, which is, in one of my opinions, one of their best executions of guest characters, adjacent to like Jason and Predator in Mortal Kombat X. Like, oh my God, dude. This character's awesome. Shit looks so cool. The way you do things, the way it looks, the way his normals, the way his specials looks. I'm like, some parts of MK1 make me deeply happy. Trying to say, not everything in Mortal Kombat 1 was a dour snooze fest just designed to rip as much money away from you as possible. There was genuinely some very cool creativity that found its way through into this game beyond like the first season, at the end of the first season, moving into season 2. Of all the stuff we talked about, that's what I hope continues forward into the next NRS game. I want capable characters, man, with cool things they can do. That is not the thing that made MK1 unsuccessful, if it is considered unsuccessful. That is not it, man. Those things were the things that were keeping people held on. By the end of an NRS cycle, at least to me from a viewer perspective and somebody that relatively is in tune with the community, and I like to talk to these guys a lot, right? At the end of this cycle and previous NRS cycles, I can tell you, at the end of Injustice 1, people were done with that game, dude. This game, big sucks, bring on Mortal Kombat. At the end of Mortal Kombat X, many people were like, this game big sucks, 50-50 death fest, you know, I'm not even gonna play the next patch, bring on Injustice 2. Injustice 2 comes out, man, this game sucks.
MK is the COD of fighting games in terms of people talk about the COD cycle. You hate the new one, then the next one comes along and you love it. Rose-tinted glasses, happens the same thing. I always say COD cycle.
Can't believe how much this game sucks. It's just so much unfun. Bring on MK11. MK11 comes out. Man, this game's so cool looking. It's wonderful. Footsie MK11, 6 to 7 months later, this game sucks. Jesus Christ, we can't do anything. It's just the same things over and over again. I am watching these throw animations until my life ends. This game sucks. Bring on Mortal Kombat 1. We gotta reboot this thing. And then it changes. MK1 comes out. This game sucks. What happened? This is not good. And by the end of MK1, guess where we're at now? This game's sick. The end of MK1 presents a completely different situation than all of the previous NRS games over the past decade. This game has ended in a better spot than it was at the beginning. And now, the majority of people that play NRS games, the people that play this shit competitively or enjoy this stuff and do play it a lot just outside of making content and also playing it for single player shit, all of a sudden it's really fun now. And now it's a game that opens up and allows for a lot of really cool shit that you can do. Way better than it was at the start and way better than many of the previous NRS games that had come out. So it's the exact opposite here. Game completely sucks at the beginning and it's a huge problem And after a year and a half of refinement and fixes, and especially over the past 6 months, this game's fucking cool now. And I can see myself, if anybody else asks me, hey, dude, you want to go back and play MK11? You want to go back and play Injustice 2? And I'm going to be like, I don't know, dude. We have to make some rules here. And if we...
I will say MK11, I think, also got better, but it also wasn't as bad. I think MK1 in its final state is a more fun to play online game than MK11. MK11 didn't suck quite as bad, even though it was really slow. They had to make a lot of changes to make the game feel faster. I mean, again, we had 2 competitive variations per character. Then we got a third like 6 months down the line. Then we got customs over a year into the game. So MK11 definitely took its time to be good, because customs kind of saved the game. The story part 2 is also really good in MK11. It's just in MK1, it was so bad that now that it is pretty fun to play, it just feels like it's the only game that's gotten better over time, which, again, I agree with him. It's the one that you could definitely feel that for. I just want to point out, MK11 did also improve. I know a lot of people will say that if I didn't.
We talk about, hey, you want to go back and play MK1? I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Dude, I can play Conan. Maybe I can learn Noob Saibot. This shit's cool, dude. This game's fucking cool now. And it's the end. Seemingly is dead. With that being said, I think that the growth of this game and where it has effectively failed is interesting to me, because it does not line up with the typical growth process, if not evolution of a normal NRS game cycle. It's different here. And now the majority of the community that used to absolutely despise the end of every NRS game that came before suddenly thinks that this game's a lot better now, significantly better than it was at launch. And it also is at a spot gameplay-wise that makes it kind of fun. With that being said, I hope that this information, and not just the everything in MK1 is trash, game just bad, no progress, no foresight, no looking back, no learning from this, just do completely new thing, completely different. I do not want MK11 2, man. I would like all the cool stuff that's in MK11 to come back, and its visuals and shit, and its art design, but my god, dude, I hope we do not get a game that plays exactly like that again. We're just going to take all the moves away from characters again. We're just going to make throws even more damaging, even longer. I really hope that doesn't happen, and I hope that we can get fast-paced, snappy game that is relatively high damaging. I'd be surprised if we have another strike throw fighting game, because it would be like the 3rd one in a row from NRS, but still, I think there's many things to learn from MK1 that they actually did well, and over time truly refined this game, and it could have been something genuinely cool. But considering the way that the majority of the NRS community and fans of Mortal Kombat engage with MK, you were never going to get people on your side. That was never going to happen. You were never going to get this audience back, regardless of you changing things or moving things around. This game, to many people, is only a focus point of anger and rage. No evolvement, just anger and rage. I actually now completely understand why WB would completely abandon it. Why they would just drop it. Because there's no way we're getting people back. We have to restart. And at this point, we're going to have to wait a couple of years, most likely, to even see what a new approach to Mortal Kombat would be. But I hope they genuinely learn from MK1.
Overall, I agree with most of what Max had to say here. Like, a lot of it is the game is much better now to play. But at this point, how many people are going to come back and give it a try? It just makes a lot of sense why NetherRealm has kind of just given up here with MK1, because no matter how much effort you put into making the game good, some people, 50% of those people that bought MK11 won't come back solely because of cameos. Just cameos existing. This game could be the best thing since sliced bread, and because it's not a 1v1 fighter, people won't give it a try.